Welcome to the Business Buyer Diaries. My name is Nathan Platter. I'm a full-time employee, and I bought a business. I did everything right, from finding the deal, handling all the due diligence on 63 opportunities, and ultimately bought a profitable gym. And boy, was I in for a big surprise as a new owner. I chronicled everything in real time, including the biggest wins to the stressful nights at 2 a.m. I'm sharing my journey without sugarcoating anything, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Here's today's episode.
I know I've talked about keeping your partner, both your personal partner and your business partner, if they are different, involved in all the stages of the deal. But I just want to reiterate how freeing and relaxed I am, having now done that. I've looked at over 60 deals, different P&Ls, tax statements, just different packages, and for the long one area that I've struggled with is including other people in the struggle. And I've struggled because as a kid growing up, it was very self-driven. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The point of school is to learn to figure it out and how to figure it out so you can do this. So go get it. The world is your oyster kind of mentality. And I can be isolating if you take it the wrong way. And in this whole business endeavor, it's very much been at first, the probably first 55, 59 packages that I looked at, so much hey, Courtney, here's what the business is doing. Here's what I'm deciding. And it was very much I'm making all these executive decisions. I'm not keeping her in the loop. She doesn't know if they're profitable, if they're staffed, if they're local, or if they're not. I'll drop in oh, this club's out in another state. That takes about 8 hours to get there. And she's well, what state? Do they have staff? Is it profitable? And I'll just only tell her enough so that she doesn't keep asking questions. Which, that's a really old school. That's a terrible way to keep your partner in the loop. That's awful. And I don't know in hindsight why I was doing that. Just awful communication habits. And so right now, every day when the kids get home from school, daycare, school, well, I'll just have a very active, hey, here's what happened today. Here's where things are at. And here's kind of the timeline of where things are looking. And it's a very high level thing. And I can over explain stuff very easily. But yesterday was hey, I met with the tax strategy person. You recommended this structure. Here's how we'll pay ourselves. Here's based on the annual business earnings. Here's what it looks like we'll be paying ourselves. Here's how it compares to where we're currently at. So what that basically means is I have to go create an LLC here, and then we'll make about this much each month. What are your thoughts on that? Does that concern you? Does that make sense? And I keep it really simple. I don't add in all the nuances that I could, that people like to geek out on stuff like that, like me, get involved in. But I know that she wants to know that she's kept in the loop, that she's able to have decisions on the process. And it's really freeing because now I'm actually keeping her involved in the process. And I'm not just keeping her cloaked in 99% of what's happening, but now she gets the full exposure. And if she wants to know details, great. She can know who I'm talking to, what my next action step is, what does she need to do, if anything. And that's really freeing. And we're true 50-50 on it all. And not just Nathan's LLC, Nathan's business, and then we just happen to be married and joint tenants on things. But no, we're true 50-50 on it, so that if she's asked by her friends or family on what's all happening, she's at least able to give a response, if she wants to, on how we're setting this all up. And so I think she's enjoying it a lot more. I'm enjoying it a lot more because I don't feel I have to carry everything by myself. And we're having more fun with each other because it's a pet project that we're working on that's going to become a full-time focus for us. And so that's really freeing. And that's something that I would encourage people to do as well. If you're married, keep your partner. I would advocate keeping your partner in the loop unless there's a very good reason to keep them in the dark on some of your business activities, which I'd be curious to ask more questions on. Why is that smart? Because now I want to know your secrets. But also, it's just less stress when you don't have to think about what do they know, what are they supposed to know or not supposed to know. is something that I'm allowed to tell them or not tell them. And when you're able to live with your heart on your sleeve with the right person, it's so much easier to just keep track of stuff. It's easy to remember, like, oh, this is someone that I don't tell anything in my life. And okay, well, that's easy. But with your spouse, say, oh, it's easy to keep track on what you share with, and it's better for your sanity. It's better for your relationship. We're having more fun with each other. It's something that we can both enjoy and celebrate the wins on together, and that we can ask questions about or bounce ideas off each other. So keep transparency open with each other. That's my life lesson from yesterday. For the tax strategy person, the gist of what we're trying to do is essentially have several clubs. Now, I don't have a cap on that number, but high touch clubs that I'm very engaged in. I say we, but I mean me. I don't want my wife to feel obligated to that. I want to have that as part of my life. I also want to have a chance to add on commercial real estate at some point. And I want to have the flexibility to add in like speaking, coaching, mentoring, consulting gigs for additional income if that ends up happening in the distance. So the legal structure, the formal one he recommended, is having an S corp or a C corp. For us, he said an S corp should be fine. At Scholastic, a legal person, if you want to know the difference, because I'm not a lawyer. But an S corp that we would both be 50-50 on. And the S corp would hold each of the LLCs, which are the gyms or fitness studios, not gyms, but fitness studios that will be owning and operating. You want to be able to add and sell those if the time happens down the road, and we want to make it easy for ourselves to do that. Right now, I don't plan to ever sell any studios. I want these to be my babies that I pass on to my kids, literally. Each child at this point in time, I want to have their own business and not go to a 4-year college. I went to 4-year school. I later on got my MBA from a state school, go LSU. But I don't want them to feel obligated to go to school and to be able to support their families. We'll have I'm sure in different podcasts, I'll talk about why, but they're getting too bureaucratic, too indoctrinated, oriented. And I don't want to indoctrinate my kids. I want to be the one to impart my values on my kids. I want to be the one to imprint who I want them to be on my kids. I want to be the one to choose what environment they grow up in. I want to be the one that decides their first 18 years. And I want to be the one that helps guide them to their 22-year-old years as well. That's my parent role. That's my job. That's something that I am going to keep to myself and to my wife. And yes, we will teach them our Christian values. And they'll have a chance to learn about other world values, absolutely. But we will teach them our household values. That is my role as a parent that I will have to give an account to God for, that I have a duty and an obligation to raise them in the ways that I believe are morally right, and then equip them to succeed in this world, and that give them a shot at getting to know their Creator, the Lord God Almighty, who created them and made them and loves them and values them. And they need to love their neighbors as themselves as well. So, get a little hyped up, but where are we going? So, Escort LLCs, and at some point I'd love to own some of the buildings that we're leasing, and I would really have a blast being able to go and speak at different franchisee conferences, as well as mentor other franchisees looking to up their game at their small business as well. So we got the legal structure, tips. He's not a lawyer, so he's giving some suggestions, and I can go get an attorney as well. But then he gave some insight as to what kind of payroll and tax and benefits we should do for ourselves. So shout out to CPA Tony, and he's going to be working with me. I'm going to be working with him. We're going to get things rocking and rolling, getting a proposal in about a week from what the fractional CFO services looks like. So those are the personal tips for the day, business developments for the day, and I'm literally pulling up right now to go to a kickboxing class and to go punch a bag and go meet some new students. I've only been to the cardio classes because of the days of the week, so this will be a chance to meet some more people and put on some punching gloves and go kick it.
This has been another episode of the Business Buyer Diaries. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I hope you're realizing that business ownership is no cakewalk. Check the podcast notes for a link to the DIY due diligence program, the complete list of show sponsors, and for media inquiries. Music written and composed by Wes Schrock. I'm your host, Nathan Platter. Join me again on the next one.